When people ask me about the lowest point of my life, I don't think about the day I lost my job or the night I slept hungry because I couldn't afford groceries. No, the lowest point of my life was the moment I stood in front of the man I loved, with tears streaming down my face, and he laughed. That laugh still echoes in my head. It wasn't nervous. It wasn't confused. It was cruel. But before I tell you how that moment shattered me, I need to start from the beginning. Because my story isn't just about heartbreak, it's about how I turned my pain into power. My name is Emily Parker. I was 27 when I met Ryan Miller, a man who seemed like everything I had ever prayed for. He was charming, ambitious, and always knew how to make me feel like the only woman in the room. We met at a friend's wedding, and within weeks, we were inseparable. At first, Ryan treated me like his queen. He opened doors, left flowers on my desk at work, and sent me little notes saying he couldn't wait to see me again. I thought I had finally found the love story I had always dreamed of. But dreams have a way of turning into nightmares when you least expect it. The first cracks began to show a year into our relationship. Ryan became distant. He started spending more nights working late at the office. When I asked questions, he brushed me off. "Emily, not everything is about you," he would snap. Still, I held on. I told myself relationships weren't perfect. I told myself he was just stressed. I told myself love was supposed to be patient. But patience only works when the other person is fighting for the same thing. One night, after weeks of cold shoulders and excuses, I confronted him. "Ryan," I said softly, "I feel like you're slipping away from me. Did I do something wrong?" He didn't even look up from his phone. "You're being dramatic, Emily. Stop acting like a child." My chest tightened, but I tried to stay calm. I need to know what's happening between us." Finally, he looked at me. His eyes were sharp, and his voice cut through me like a knife. "What's happening is that you're suffocating me. You cry too much. You complain too much. You're weak." Weak. That word pierced me deeper than anything else. Because I had spent my whole life proving I was strong, working 2 jobs to put myself through college, taking care of my sick mother, surviving every curveball life had thrown at me. And yet, the man I loved called me weak. Tears burned in my eyes. "Ryan, how can you say that to me? After everything I've given up for us?" And that's when it happened. He laughed. Not a laugh of love. Not a laugh of kindness. But a cold, mocking laugh. "You think you've sacrificed? Please, Emily. You wouldn't survive a day without me. You need me." Not the other way around. That night, I lay awake replaying his words, his laughter, over and over. My heart was broken, but something else began to stir inside me. A voice I hadn't heard in years. Prove him wrong. For the first time, I started to realize that maybe Ryan wasn't my safe place. Maybe he was my cage. And maybe, just maybe, I had the key to unlock it. But things didn't stop there. The next few weeks, Ryan's cruelty grew sharper. He criticized everything I did, my cooking, my clothes, even the way I spoke. In front of his friends, he made jokes at my expense, brushing them off with, "Relax, babe, it's just a joke." But it wasn't a joke when I cried myself to sleep at night. It wasn't a joke when my self-esteem started crumbling. And it definitely wasn't a joke when I realized he was hiding something from me. One afternoon, Ryan left his laptop open on the dining table. Normally, I respected his privacy, but something inside me whispered to look. And when I did, my world stopped. There were emails, dozens of them, from another woman. Her name was Lena, and the words they exchanged weren't just casual, they were intimate, passionate. The kind of words he hadn't said to me in months. My hands trembled as I scrolled. "I can't wait to see you tonight," Lena had written. "I need your touch," Ryan replied. I felt like I couldn't breathe. For days, I pretended I didn't know. I wanted to see how far he would go. I wanted to test just how deep his betrayal ran. And then, one night, he told me he had to work late again. But this time, I followed him. My car trailed us across the city until he pulled up outside a sleek, upscale restaurant. I parked 2 blocks away, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it would break through my ribs. And then I saw her. Lena. She was stunning, long black hair, a perfect red dress, the kind of woman who could stop traffic. She walked toward him, and without hesitation, Ryan kissed her cheek and held her hand as they walked inside together. I gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. Tears blurred my vision, but anger steadied me. This wasn't just a mistake. This wasn't just a fling. This was a betrayal. And in that moment, sitting alone in my car, I made a promise to myself. If Ryan thought he could laugh at my pain, if he thought he could break me and walk away unscathed, he was wrong. Because I had a truth, a secret of my own. One he didn't know yet. One that would flip his entire world upside down. And when the time was right, I would use it. That was the night everything changed. That was the night I stopped being his victim. That was the night my plan for revenge was born. And Ryan Miller had no idea the storm that was coming his way. That was the night everything changed. That was the night I stopped being his victim. That was the night my plan for revenge was born. But here's the part Ryan never saw coming. I had a truth hidden so dark, so explosive, that once he discovered it, his entire life would crumble in front of his eyes. And soon, he would beg me for mercy. The days after that humiliating dinner were the hardest of my life. Every time I closed my eyes, I could still hear Ryan's mocking laughter and feel the sting of betrayal from the people I once called family. But something inside me had shifted. Instead of drowning in sorrow, I started building a fire in my chest, a fire that only revenge could feed. I remember waking up one morning, staring at my reflection in the mirror. My eyes were swollen from nights of crying, but behind the redness was a spark of determination. "No more tears, Emily," I whispered to myself. "He thinks you're weak. He thinks he's broken you. But he has no idea who you really are." Ryan believed he had me trapped, emotionally, financially, and socially. What he didn't know was that I still had access to something he thought I'd forgotten, the one secret that could shatter his perfect image. One evening, he returned home late, smelling faintly of expensive perfume that wasn't mine. I played the part of the obedient wife, greeting him with a fake smile. "You're late," I said softly. He smirked, loosening his tie. "Business, Emily. You wouldn't understand. Business." That was his excuse for everything. But I wasn't blind. I saw the lipstick stain on his collar. I felt my hands curl into fists behind my back, but I forced myself to stay calm. Revenge wasn't about exploding in anger. Revenge was about patience. "Of course," I said sweetly, pouring him a glass of water. "I trust you." The satisfaction on his face made me want to scream. But I didn't. Instead, I watched him, studied him, and began to collect every piece of evidence I needed. Ryan worked at a prestigious firm where reputation was everything. He always bragged about how his clean image was the reason he climbed the corporate ladder so quickly. But what if that image wasn't so clean anymore? I knew about the offshore account he opened years ago, one he thought I had no clue about. Back then, I stumbled upon it by accident when he asked me to scan some financial papers. At the time, I ignored it, trusting him. But now, it was going to be my weapon. I also remembered the emails. Ryan wasn't as careful as he thought. His carelessness was my opportunity. The next week, I started acting differently. I smiled more, laughed at his jokes, and played the role of the forgiving wife. Ryan, in his arrogance, bought into it completely. "You see, Emily," he told me one night, sipping his whiskey, "this is how things should be. You being calm, me taking care of everything. Don't stress yourself with things you don't understand." I bit my lip to stop myself from laughing in his face. If only he knew how much I already understood. But patience, I reminded myself. Patience. One night, as he snored beside me, I slipped out of bed and quietly opened his laptop. My hands trembled, not from fear but from excitement. I knew his passwords. He never changed them. Too arrogant to think I'd ever dare touch his private world. Click after click, folder after folder, I found everything I needed: photos, receipts, emails. Proof of affairs. Proof of shady transactions. Proof that the man who laughed at my pain was nothing more than a liar wrapped in expensive suits. I copied everything onto a hidden flash drive and slipped it into the lining of my purse. When I finally closed the laptop, I turned to look at Ryan's sleeping face. For the first time in months, I smiled genuinely, because now the game had changed. The next morning, Ryan strutted into the kitchen like a king. "Make me some coffee, Emily. I've got a big presentation today." I nodded, calmly handing him his cup. But as he took that first sip, I leaned against the counter, studying him. "Ryan," I said, tilting my head, "have you ever thought about how quickly life can change?" He looked at me, confused. "What are you talking about?" I smiled innocently. "Nothing. Just wondering how it feels to have everything one moment and nothing the next." He frowned, clearly irritated. "Don't start with your nonsense." "I don't have time." I shrugged, hiding my smirk. "Of course, dear." But inside, I was screaming with satisfaction, because he had no idea that I already held his destruction in my hands. Later that evening, I stood alone in the bedroom, gripping the flash drive tightly. "This is just the beginning," I whispered. "You made me beg for love, Ryan. You humiliated me. But now it's my turn." And as if fate was on my side, that very night, Ryan received a call from someone that changed everything. His voice grew tense, his eyes darkened, and for the first time, I saw fear flicker across his face. Ryan slammed the phone down, his face pale as he muttered under his breath, "This can't be happening." I froze in the doorway, clutching the flash drive in my hand. Because the question now wasn't if my plan would work. It was whether Ryan had just realized that his carefully built world was already starting to collapse. The tension in our house thickened after that mysterious phone call. Ryan, usually smug and arrogant, suddenly looked like a man carrying a ghost on his shoulders. He paced the living room late into the night, phone clutched in his hand, whispering to someone in hushed tones. I didn't let him see me watching. Instead, I kept to the shadows, listening, memorizing. "Calm down," he hissed into the phone. "No one knows. Just keep your mouth shut and we'll be fine." My heart raced. No one knows. Those words stuck in my head. Ryan wasn't just cheating, he was hiding something bigger, something darker, and I was determined to find out what it was. The next morning, Ryan put on his usual act. He dressed sharply for work, kissed me on the forehead as though we were the perfect couple, and walked out the door. But I had already decided I was going to follow him. I waited 10 minutes, then slipped into my car and trailed behind his. He didn't notice me, too consumed with whatever storm was brewing in his mind. Instead of driving toward his office downtown, he took a sharp turn onto a less traveled road and eventually parked outside a luxurious hotel. My stomach clenched. Another woman. Of course. But what happened next surprised me. Instead of meeting some young mistress in a red dress, Ryan entered a private suite where two men in expensive suits were waiting. They didn't look like lovers. They looked like sharks. I crept close enough to hear fragments of their heated conversation. "You promised us, Ryan," one man growled. "If this gets out, you're finished." "We're all finished." I said I have it under control. Ryan snapped. "Nobody will find out." The other man slammed his fist on the table. "You better pray your wife stays ignorant. If she finds anything." Ryan cut him off. "Emily? She's too naive to suspect a thing." Trust me, the words cut deeper than a knife. Knave. That's what he thought of me. I wanted to barge in right then, scream at him, show those men the flash drive hidden in my purse. But no, not yet. Timing was everything. When Ryan finally came home that night, I played my role perfectly. I served dinner, asked him about his day, and even pretended to be impressed when he bragged about his new client deal. But inside, I was trembling with anticipation. The puzzle pieces were falling into place. Ryan wasn't just unfaithful, he was corrupt. His world was built on lies, and I held the thread that could unravel it all. That weekend, I made my move. While Ryan was in the shower, I unlocked his phone and scrolled through his messages. Hidden among business contacts and flirty texts from women was a string of encrypted chats with names I didn't recognize. I forwarded them all to my private email. Then, I did something bold. I called one of the numbers. A gruff voice answered, "Who is this?" "This is Emily," I said calmly. "Ryan's wife." There was silence, then a harsh laugh. "So, you finally found out, huh?" My pulse quickened. "Found out what?" "Ask your husband," the man sneered. "But if you're smart, you'll keep quiet." People who dig too deep into Ryan's affairs usually end up regretting it. The line went dead. I sat frozen, the phone trembling in my hand. So it was true. Ryan was hiding something dangerous. And now I was caught in the middle of it. That night, as Ryan slipped into bed, I couldn't help but whisper, "Ryan, if I ever betrayed you, would you forgive me?" He turned to me, frowning. "What kind of question is that?" "Just wondering," I said softly. "Would you forgive me?" His jaw tightened. "No, betrayal is unforgivable." I smiled in the darkness where he couldn't see me. "Good," I thought, "because soon you'll understand exactly what it feels like." The following week, Ryan hosted a lavish party at our house for his colleagues. He paraded me around like a trophy, introducing me as the perfect wife. I smiled and played along, but my eyes were busy scanning the room. One of the men I'd seen at the hotel was there, drinking whiskey and laughing loudly. When his eyes met mine, his smile faltered. He knew. Later that evening, as Ryan entertained his guests, the man cornered me near the bar. "You shouldn't be here," he muttered. "If you love your life, Emily, stay out of this." My heart pounded, but I held my ground. "Maybe I don't want to stay out of it." His eyes narrowed. "You have no idea what kind of man your husband really is." I leaned closer, lowering my voice. "Actually, I think I do." Before he could respond, Ryan appeared out of nowhere. His smile stretched thin. "Everything okay here?" he asked sharply. The man forced a laugh. "Of course. Just congratulating your wife on being so supportive." Ryan's arm snaked around my waist, his grip just a little too tight. "Good. Because Emily knows better than to meddle in things she doesn't understand." I smiled sweetly, but inside, my blood boiled. Because if he thought I was going to stay quiet, he was dead wrong. The party ended, the guests left, and Ryan disappeared into his study. I stood in the darkened living room, clutching my flash drive. I had everything I needed, proof of his affairs, his corruption, his lies. But just as I was about to hide it back in my purse, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned and froze. Ryan was standing there, his eyes locked on the flash drive in my hand. His voice was low, dangerous, almost a growl. "What are you doing with that, Emily?" And in that moment, I realized Ryan knew. Ryan's eyes locked on the flash drive in my hand. His expression shifted from shock to something far darker, rage mixed with fear. For the first time, I realized just how dangerous he could be when cornered. "What are you doing with that, Emily?" His voice was low, controlled, but his clenched fist betrayed him. I forced a smile, slipping the flash drive into my pocket. "Oh, this?" "Just some old files I found lying around. I thought I'd keep them safe." His eyes narrowed. He stepped closer, his presence suffocating. Don't play games with me. Where did you get that? I refused to flinch. Maybe you left it on your desk. Or maybe you've been careless with your secrets. For a second, his mask cracked. His jaw tightened, his breathing heavy. Then, with forced calm, he said, "You don't understand what you're getting yourself into. Hand it over." I shook my head slowly. "No, Ryan. Not this time. I'm done being the knave wife who looks the other way." The air between us grew electric, the silence sharp enough to cut through bone. Finally, he exhaled, giving me a chilling smile. "So you want to play this game? Fine, but you won't like how it ends." He turned and stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind him. I stood frozen, my heart pounding. But beneath the fear was a surge of power. For the first time in years, Ryan wasn't in control. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak in the house felt like a warning. Every shadow seemed alive. I clutched the flash drive under my pillow like a weapon, knowing Ryan wouldn't give up easily. By morning, he acted as if nothing had happened. Over breakfast, he sipped his coffee and casually said, "You're going shopping today, right? Maybe buy yourself something nice." His calmness unsettled me. It was too calculated, too rehearsed. "Sure," I replied, forcing a smile. But inside, I knew he was planning something. I needed allies. So I reached out to Claire, my best friend and the only person I trusted. I invited her over, locked the doors, and poured everything out, the affairs, the corruption, the flash drive. Her eyes widened with each revelation. "Emily, this isn't just cheating. This is dangerous. If those men find out you have this, they won't hesitate to silence you." "I know," I whispered, my hands trembling. "But I can't walk away now. Ryan has destroyed too much of me. It's time I destroy him." Claire grabbed my hand. "Then let me help you. Whatever you're planning, you're not doing it alone." For the first time, I didn't feel so alone. Days passed and Ryan's behavior grew more erratic. He showered me with expensive gifts, cooked dinner, even suggested we take a vacation. It was all an act, his desperate attempt to distract me. One night, as he pretended to cuddle me on the couch, his phone buzzed. He jumped, nearly dropping it, before silencing the call. But not before I caught a glimpse of the caller ID. Unknown number. He excused himself and walked out to the balcony, whispering furiously. I followed quietly and caught fragments. "She has it. No, I'll handle her. Trust me, Emily won't be a problem much longer." My blood ran cold. He's planning something against me. The next day, I decided to make my move. I copied everything from the flash drive onto Claire's laptop and backed it up on cloud storage. If Ryan tried to take it from me, he'd fail. That evening, Ryan returned home earlier than usual. His face was calm, too calm. "Emily," he said softly, "let's talk." When people ask me about I stiffened. "About what?" He stepped closer, his gaze intense. "I know things have been tense between us. But you're my wife. I don't want us to fight. Just give me the flash drive, and we can forget all of this ever happened." I crossed my arms. "Forget? You mean forget your lies, your affairs, your dirty deals? Forget how you've humiliated me for years?" His jaw flexed. "I did what I had to do. Everything I've built, everything we have, it's because of me. And you should be grateful." I laughed bitterly. "Grateful? For living a life built on betrayal? For being mocked as a fool while you played me like a puppet?" His smile faded. His voice turned icy. "You think you're strong enough to fight me, Emily? You're nothing without me." I took a deep breath, holding his gaze. "That's where you're wrong, Ryan. You're nothing without me. And soon, everyone will know it." His face twisted with fury. He lunged forward, grabbing my wrist, his grip painful. "You don't know what you're doing," he hissed. But I didn't flinch. Oh, I know exactly what I'm doing. And you're going to regret every choice you've made. For a moment, his eyes flickered with something I hadn't seen before, fear. He released me abruptly and stormed out of the room. I sank to the floor, shaking, adrenaline coursing through me. The war between us was no longer silent. It had officially begun. The next morning, I woke to find Ryan gone. But on the kitchen counter, a note waited for me. It read, "If you keep pushing me, Emily, you'll lose more than just a husband. Think carefully before you act." My hands trembled as I read it. It wasn't just a threat. It was a promise. And yet, I smiled through the fear. Because Ryan didn't realize I had already acted. Later that night, I received an email from an anonymous address. It contained one chilling sentence. "We know what you're planning, Emily. And we're coming for you." The anonymous email replayed in my head all night like a broken record. "We know what you're planning, Emily. And we're coming for you." I barely slept. Every sound in the house made me jump. Ryan wasn't home. He hadn't returned since the argument. My instincts screamed that something big was coming. By morning, I had made my decision. If Ryan wanted to destroy me, I'd strike first. I met Claire at a small cafe across town. She leaned in close, whispering, "Emily, are you sure about this? Once you release that information, there's no going back." I clutched the USB tightly in my palm. He's left me no choice. If I don't burn his world down, he'll bury me alive. She nodded, her eyes fierce. "Then let's do it together." We planned carefully who to contact, where to send the evidence, how to ensure it spread so wide that Ryan and his partners couldn't silence it. That evening, I returned home to find Ryan waiting in the living room, his expression eerily calm. "Emily," he said, rising from the couch. "I was hoping we could talk, really talk." I raised an eyebrow. "Talk?" "Or intimidate me again." He sighed, pretending to look weary. "You've always been dramatic, but I don't want to fight anymore. Let's just put this behind us. Give me the flash drive, and I'll forget everything." I smirked. "Forget? Ryan, you don't get to erase years of lies with one fake apology." For the first time, his mask slipped completely. His face hardened. "Fine. Then you leave me no choice." Suddenly, the front door burst open. Two large men in dark suits walked in, their presence cold and terrifying. I stumbled back. "Who are they?" Ryan's lips curled into a cruel smile. "Insurance." "I told you, Emily, you don't know what you're up against. Hand it over, or these men will make sure you never cause problems again." My heart pounded, but I forced myself to stand tall. "You think you scare me? You should know me better by now." I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. With one click, I played a recording. Ryan's own voice echoed through the room. "She has it. Don't worry, I'll handle her. Emily won't be a problem much longer." The men froze. Their eyes flicked toward Ryan with suspicion. "Careful, boss," one of them muttered. "If she's got proof." Ryan's face turned red. "Shut up. She's bluffing." But I wasn't bluffing. I smiled coldly. "That recording? Already sent to the police, along with every file on that flash drive. By now, your world is crumbling." Ryan's phone buzzed violently on the table. He grabbed it, his hands shaking as he read the flood of messages. His expression collapsed into horror. "What? What did you do?" His voice cracked. I stepped closer, my eyes burning with the fire of years of betrayal. "I did what you never expected. I fought back." He shook his head, disbelief written across his face. "No, this can't be happening." The men backed away slowly, clearly not wanting to be part of his downfall. Within an hour, chaos erupted. News outlets started breaking the story. Local businessmen exposed in massive corruption scandal. Ryan's face flashed across the television screen, his empire collapsing in real time. He fell to his knees in the living room, clutching his head. Emily, please. You don't understand. They'll come after me. I'll lose everything. I stared down at him, my voice cold. You already lost everything when you betrayed me. The days that followed were a blur of headlines, police investigations, and public disgrace. Ryan's business crumbled, his partners abandoned him, and the man who once laughed at my pain was reduced to a hollow shell of himself. One night, he came to me, broken and desperate. His eyes were red, his voice trembling. Emily, please. I can't survive this. You have to help me. I looked at him, this man who had humiliated me, used me, and tried to destroy me, and for the first time, I felt nothing. No love. No fear. Just freedom. You wanted me weak, Ryan, I whispered. But you forgot. I was stronger than you ever imagined. He collapsed in sobs, begging, pleading. But I turned and walked away. Weeks later, I stood outside in the crisp evening air, watching the sunset with Claire by my side. For the first time in years, I felt peace. Claire smiled softly. You did it, Emily. You burned his world down. I nodded, a faint smile touching my lips. And I built mine back up from the ashes. As I turned to go back inside, my phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. The message read, Ryan wasn't the only one keeping secrets. You're next.